Today, we're going to be in the charts looking at Binance Coin, BNB, the native token for Binance Smart Chain. Most people don't know this actually was started on Ethereum in around 2017, if I recall. And then in 2019, it was actually moved back over to the Binance Smart Chain. So very interesting. Essentially, this coin, just for a basic overview for anyone who's not familiar, it helps you lower fees on Binance. So if you're actually holding it on the Binance exchange, helps you lower fees there, trading fees that you get on a day-to-day basis if you're actively trading, doing margin, things like this. By the way, the number 2 course in Global TA, the free course, is coming out today, later this afternoon. Obviously, I'm in Turkey time, so if you're in the States, it'll probably be coming out in the morning. But point is, if you're using leverage trading, you want something to help lower fees. And Binance Coin helps you do that. So it is highly sought after, but for not just this reason, but for many other reasons. It's the native token for the Binance chain. So let's say you're using something like PancakeSwap instead of Uniswap because of the lower fees. You basically use Binance Coin BNB to help pay for fees. Okay, so we're going to be looking at this in the technical charts, but first let's just do a basic overview in a CoinGecko just to get a better understanding, kind of a framework moving into the charts, so you kind of understand what's been going on here. And then we'll again look at this historically. But like I said, as long as you understand kind of the basic use cases of Binance Coin, you're good to go. Again, I can do a deep dive video on this. I've done a lot of stuff on Binance. But yeah, 165,000 people like this. That's always good to see just for sentimental analysis, just looking at, okay, how many people are kind of like tracking this on a day-to-day basis? In CoinGecko, a lot of people go to their portfolio every day, collect the candies on the platform, which is actually a very, very interesting incentive mechanism. Basically, they have this kind of reward to go back there, and who knows, maybe CoinGecko will actually do their own coin, which would be fascinating if they did, and did like an airdrop almost for like anyone who's holding candies, because Lord knows I got a lot of them, and I think a lot of people do. Let me know in the comments if you collect those every day. But yeah, I personally love doing that because you can kind of track your portfolio and just coins that you're interested in. So we have a $75 billion market cap. My apologies. At the time of recording this, we're sitting at $486. I mean, if you would have told me it would be this high when I was purchasing it around like $10, is when I was accumulating a lot of Binance Coin. And I didn't even purchase a lot of it, to be quite honest. I purchased a decent amount. It's all relative, but it's pretty crazy what it's done since then. So let's see, 24-hour trading volume is at $730 million. That is good to see. A little bit low for that market cap, but it is a Sunday, so that is the one thing to take into account. Fully diluted is 83 billion, max supply 170 million. Okay, that's good to see. Blah blah blah. All right, let's go here to max, and then we'll go to the chart. But I just wanted to point out, I was trying to look when I was originally purchasing a lot of BNB, is when I was it was somewhere in this range. I know it was when I was in Switzerland. I was in Switzerland before Serbia. It was like a little bit before the Uniswap airdrop. And that's when I was really accumulating a lot of them. But yeah, it's important to understand when you get into these projects, because I've de-risked obviously a lot from this, but I still hold some for lower exchange fees with Binance. So again, let me know if you got into this early, but let's look at the charts here. All right, so really what we're looking at here is a nice parabolic move up. Obviously, this is starting out on the daily charts, then we'll move closer in and look at some price targets. But it's quite interesting what's been happening here. We kind of saw this nice little symmetrical triangle go on in this range. You see this, how price essentially just consolidated and then had this nice little pop off after we saw, lower highs, higher lows, lower highs, higher lows in this range. So we saw a bit, like I'm saying, high, lower lows, lower highs. And again, this is on the daily time frame, so it's harder to see this. But if you zoom in, essentially you'll be able to see a lot more of the detailed price action. And by the way, I can just get rid of these moving indicators. And again, if you're not familiar with technical analysis, definitely stay tuned for Global TA coming out later today. The number 2 is basically talking about basically the fundamentals of technical analysis, talking about basically understanding charting and things like this. All right, so let's pull this way back. That's all the price history they have. Yeah, okay, so this is so funny. This is like the previous. See how it looks like nothing? This is so funny. Because what's interesting is 10 years from now, this move probably will look like this. This is what a lot of people don't understand in charts. You understand this a lot better if you really dive into looking at historical charts, like, for example, the gold chart or the copper chart or the silver chart. Go back to the 70s, go back to the 60s, and look at these crazy price bumps. Like this, for example, could look like this in 10 years from now. So when you think, okay, I'm too late right now. Well, this has a lot more room to grow, in my opinion. I personally think Binance is going to be a crazy exchange. CZ is one of the most powerful guys in crypto, to be quite honest. It is more centralized, but they have this beautiful ability to trade leverage on altcoins. And something like Injective Protocol is kind of innovating on this, creating a decentralized exchange where you can do this. Whereas like Uniswap, you can't really trade with leverage, but and obviously leverage is a double-edged sword. If you don't know how to use a proper risk management strategy, if you don't know how to use a stop loss, or trailing stop loss, you can get very hurt. But if you know how to use these things to your advantage, you can kind of ride them like a wave. Just like, if there's a giant wave coming and you're surfing in, I don't know, St. Kitts, when you're riding that wave, either you can use its momentum, just like you could have used this momentum. You could have literally set a trailing stop loss and been up a ridiculous amount, even if you just did a little 2x on BNB. But if you don't know how to set a stop loss, you can boom, just get liquidated and then your position's gone. So that's all part of this. Is it's just like surfing, to be quite honest. Okay, so it's just about being able to ride these waves. And one of the most important things here is studying past markets to be able to do this. So I'll draw out this last little pattern, then we'll move into the 4-hour time frame. Or actually, we can move into it now, so you can get a little bit of a better view here. Again, this is a trading view. I'll have both of these tabs linked down below in the description. Like with all the videos, I always have those linked down below. This pattern is quite interesting, actually, what we're in right now. You could say this is a little symmetrical triangle, but it's really just a bit of a strange pattern, to be quite honest. We'll see exactly what happens, but you could draw it like this. And this is, again, with technical analysis, it's really just how you see the charts, how you plan to trade this is how you want to draw these things out, okay? So we'll see. Maybe I'll do an updated video like a week or so from now to see if it keeps consolidating in this range. But essentially what you want to see here is similar to what you saw here. And you could also draw this, by the way. There's multiple ways to draw any of these patterns, but in this example, if you don't want to take it from all the way down here, you could also draw it from this range, okay? So in this case, you're seeing kind of these higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, lower highs, and then we basically shot up out of there. And the measure move price target, remember, with really any triangle, is you basically take the base. And I always like to be a little conservative and go a little bit in. And again, this doesn't have to be a perfect vertical line. Let's just go there. And then you would take this. You'd essentially measure off here, and that's about right. I mean, I would personally take profits. So let's say you would have done a long position here. Let's just say you wanted to do a nice little position there. You'd set your stop loss. So, let's say you would enter there, and you're like, okay, this is the end of this symmetrical triangle. Let me set my stop loss pretty tight. Like I would say, I would even set it a bit tighter than this. But again, this is like a macro trade. This is, if you're trading like 10x leverage, you're going to have to set a much tighter stop loss. But I would say, like, let's just say you're doing 2x leverage, just a little bit. Just being able to ride this wave with a little bit more exposure, just a small, or even a 3x. Then you can set a smaller percentage stop loss. But I mean, you can see the upside here. This is pretty crazy. What is it? So you have, so you would have about 140% gain to the 2x loss. So you obviously you're taking 2 times, let's just say 70%. Let's just be conservative and say 70%. Whereas on this, you would have maybe 30% loss. Okay, so you can kind of see the benefits there, but you get the point. So then we kind of saw this crazy rising wedge that was pretty ridiculous. It's kind of parabolic move upwards. I probably would have been a little bit bearish here, but that's really when everything was exploding, was this really crazy move towards the upside. And again, like, think about it. If you had a trailing stop loss, just did a 2x leverage on this level, here we can change this, you would really be able to reap the benefits of this going up without having the downside risk of not having a stop loss or being way over leveraged. That's the beauty of just low leverage and holding it for a long time. And especially if you hold the token, you have lower fees. But if you don't hold this Binance token, you're going to have decent fees on this. With trading, you have to take that into account. But so that's pretty much it. Let's move into the 1 hour and then pull out some of these indicators here, and then I'll show you some price targets. Again, I'll just be straight up honest. My price target with BNB is we can do a 4x from here, in my opinion. At least a 4x, if not more. I would say a 4x is conservative. Again, that's still the end of the bull run. That's not saying that we can't fall back down to $250 per BNB. So at any of these points in times, I will be kind of dollar cost averaging in. I always talk about this, the tiered investment approach. If you're not familiar with this, I have a video link down below called the Global Investment Framework. And that basically explains how I look at these different ranges, how I look at different investments. But yeah, let's go here. So Bollinger Bands and the EMA ribbon. So you can kind of see this is where we kind of dumped out of this pattern into this pattern. Okay, so now we're kind of in this symmetrical triangle. Again, you could draw it in multiple different ways. There are little also patterns going on in here. There's a W that I see. There's multiple ways of drawing this. But the point is, let's zoom in a little bit. just using that strategy that I talked about, linked down below in the description, the how to make $100 a day leverage trading, we can just set up a nice little trade setup. So we're on the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. So let's say you wanted to set a limit order down here. All right, so let's just say like here, and you wanted to set your stop loss real tight. So let's just say you set your stop loss relatively tight. And again, this is, let's say we're using 3x leverage. So let's just put it at like 2.8. Then you would set your price target up here. And ideally what you want to see for this limit order to hit is this to basically continue down, okay? So this is one setup that you could do. And what you would want to see is maybe like a little bit of volatility in here. Maybe you push up, it retests this level. So maybe instead of what I just drew, maybe we're going here. We retest those levels, kind of get rejected down, maybe get pushed down, push back up, a little bit of a touch, and then you're entered into your position right here, okay? So you're entered in, and then you have your stop loss set. So you've minimized your downside, maximizing the upside. So once you have that set up, then you can really just move your stop loss up. So let's say you just want it to break even so you have no risk. All you have is the fees. And again, if you're holding the coin, you have very low fees. You would just move that stop loss up. Come on, buddy. Bucko. All right, so you would just move this stop loss up, and you could just set it to break even. So you have zero risk, essentially. Oh, the only risk you have is the fees, and then you could just set a trailing stop loss. And my price target there would be, I mean, maybe I would target the top of this, but I would be a little bit more conservative. I would probably set it at like 20%. Yeah, so because as you can see here, this was the previous high. So if we're going to see a lower high, so for example, remember I was talking about in symmetrical triangles, essentially you see higher lows, lower highs, higher lows, lower highs. And most likely we would be somewhere in that range. So that's just one little setup you can do. But again, use that strategy, use the Bollinger Bands, and ideally what you're going to want to look for as an entry position is a bullish engulfing candle. So not only do you want it to be on the bottom of the Bollinger Bands, on the, let's see, on the 5 minute, on the 1 hour, you would ideally have you'd be on the top of the Bollinger Band, so you'd be bullish. You'd want to use the EMA ribbon to understand if this is a good entry position, and also have volume confirmed supports, okay? So all these things are important. Again, go watch Global TA today. I'll be talking about these basically mapping out fundamentals of technical analysis. So that's pretty much all for this one. Let me know what's your price prediction. Again, for Binance Coin BNB, it's $2,000 for me. I'll just be straight up honest. It's around a 4x from here. If you didn't get into this early, there's other opportunities, but never FOMO into a coin. And obviously it's not financial advice, but yeah, I mean, just be 100% transparent. I've done a lot of digging into this. I'll kind of show you how I see this, or maybe I'll save it for another video. But I will say that, maybe I'll save this for another video. Basically, how I look at these price predictions. Also in another global T. I don't want to go too long here, but I got to actually head out and go to a Mount Nemrut here in Turkey. This is beautiful mountain, Mount Nemrut, with these like stone heads. So. But yeah, like I said, that's pretty much it for this one. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, button all, invest global, and until next time.